bring the energy, he'll do the rest. Martinez Company, powered by Sports Radio 102.9 The Game.
You're going to hear it right here.
The show starts now.
It feels good to see the world getting loose. Feels good to see the world getting loose. Right. I don't know about you, Sack Noel. I don't know about you, Phenom. I don't know about you, Mike Shadow. I don't know about you, but I feel good.
Yes, and good morning, everyone. I don't know about you, but I feel good. It is a Monday morning here live on Martinez Company from the Tampa Bay studios here in beautiful Florida, where it is, I don't know, let me double check here, about 70-some degrees, 72 degrees out here in Florida. We do appreciate you all tuning in. Don't forget, you can always download the app via the website at sr1029thegame.com, right on the landing home page. You guys can go right there. It says it right there, right below the banner. Matter of fact, it'll say to download the sports radio app so you guys can always tune in and never miss any of the show, whether you're on the road, in the gym, no matter where you are. But more importantly, what a weekend for USF. Men, women alike, volleyball team, men's football, men's basketball, women's basketball. It was a winning weekend for USF Athletics. And man, you have to be proud of what's going on down there at USF. You guys already heard the groundbreaking is already happening. So they're going to get ready to build that stadium up, which should be really nice and ready by 2027. So thankfully that's underway, but we'll get into some of the highlights from the games. We'll give you a little bit of rundown what's going on. USF men will be back home to take on Tulsa this upcoming weekend. So that should be a good time at Raymond James Stadium, which will be the last home game of the season before they play their last final road game at Rice. So that should be an interesting take here coming up. So nonetheless, we'll get into some USF talk. Also, are the Cincinnati Bengals in somewhat trouble? Because you have Jamar Chase, which I wouldn't say is throwing shade to Joey Burrow, but at the same time, too, it makes you wonder, is he disgusted with what's going on with the Bengals? Now, it doesn't help that their kickers also cost them a couple games as well, but nonetheless, Cincinnati, season after season, starts out slow, and then when they need to make the playoffs, if they do, they seem to be there. Problem is, I don't believe Cincinnati may make the playoffs. There's still some time left. We still have, 2 more weeks left here in November, all of December, and then into January, at least the first week or so into January. So if you're going to do something, you better do it now. If you got to go into a win streak, it's got to start with this upcoming week with the Bengals. So the Bengals are kind of in disarray. Also, the talks of obviously Josh Allen possibly being an MVP talks situation. I'm quite sure that's going to start rising up as the Bills take down the Chiefs. And there was a story out there, and I'm not certain if it's 100% true or not, but there was a picture posted up there of supposed alleged, don't know because I never got confirmation from it, but they had Kermit the Frog with like the Patrick Mahomes wig hanging up, apparently on a pole, whatever it was. You know, if that's the case, listen, there's nothing cool about that whatsoever. Like, don't do that stuff. Listen, Patrick Mahomes has heard it all, and I'm not here to defend anybody, because they can defend themselves, but be classy. Don't be classless, because that's just not cool. I mean, no one deserves that. I don't care who you are. You just don't deserve it. And if it was distasteful, then whoever did it, shame on you for doing so. I'm pretty sure like a lot of folks probably didn't find it funny, but then again, who knows? Everybody's a little bit different when it comes to stuff like that. But I just hope that whomever it was, they don't put it back up there another time, because it was just ridiculous, to say the least. We'll also get into a little bit of conversation from Get Up last week. Obviously, last week was a crazy week. So back here, full time with everybody else, coming up today on the network. But I want to get into, because apparently the guys over at Get Up, Adam Schefter and Dan Orlovsky, they do a breakdown about the teams that could draft both, obviously, Shedeur Sanders and then attract Deion Sanders as the next head coach. I think personally, and Pete and I may have talked about this, that it could be that he may go to the Florida Gators or the Seminoles, depending on, I don't know what the fallout's going to be this year. At the end of the NCAA season, there could be some coaches that may not make it, even though they got a contract extension or something else. So there's a lot to uncover there. Eagles looked Good. Again, last week, 6-game win streak. They have to do it again and again and again because the pressure now is on. The spotlight is back on the Eagles, and hopefully some of it away from Nick Sirianni. But it's Monday. No one ever knows what Sirianni's going to say, and I'm pretty sure there's going to be a presser with him today if it hasn't come out yet. But again, Saquon Barkley, if you are a Giants fan and you saw and see what's happening in Philly with Saquon Barkley already over 1,000 yards rushing this season, it makes you wonder, right? Because a lot of people may have said, hey, you know what? We're not going to be, what's the word I'm looking for here? They're looking to rebuild, but they have also said that with Saquon, it may not have been all the fans, but I know some folks may have said, you know what? Maybe it was time for Saquon to be up. I'm just saying. No one ever knows. But we'll get into that a little bit later on. A couple of comments already coming in. Good morning, fellas. Joey B says, good morning, Angel. Hope Devin Studio B is okay. The Bears lost to the Packers. Yeah. Well, listen, Joey B, on that note, I did not pick the Bears because the Bears have let me down. New OC, same head coach, same results. Even though Caleb Williams may have looked a little bit better, but nonetheless, it is still a loss by the Bears. No matter which way you look at it, it's a loss by them. So I'm just not, I don't know what's going to take in Chicago to realize that Eberflus needs to go. But the fans, you guys on Facebook, some of the Bears fans, some of the posts, some of the pictures, some of the stuff they put up there is absolutely hilarious. And it's tough. It is tough to be a Bears fan because you wonder, is Eberflus going to retain his job? It may not be the case out here in Florida, north of us in Jacksonville, where Dougie P, possibly with Chad Khan, you guys had heard earlier with Mia O'Brien, and I'll play it back again, where she had mentioned that he had had enough. I mean, that was just embarrassing what happened in Detroit. Not that I expected for Detroit to lose, but oh my God, Dougie P, I thought honestly when he was hired in Jacksonville, that it was just going to be one of those things of, wow, these guys are going to come out. They're going to, possibly go to the Super Bowl. Not the case. Just not the case with Dougie P. I don't listen, whatever. It could happen. It may not happen. Who knows? Rick, good morning, says Giants to bench Jones for DeVito. Guess they decided to tank the season. Yeah, I saw that. I'm going to bring that up. I believe there was a video up there. If not, I know ESPN definitely has it on their site. And it's, listen, once again, Giants are just, they believed in Daniel Jones, right? And I believe in one comment, they said they didn't believe in Saquon, believed in Jones. Now what do you believe? Giants are just, I don't think anybody saw that they were going to be that bad. But as Joey B says, my Giants shame. Yeah, listen, Joey B, it's ugly in New York. It is really both teams, the Jets and the Giants. Jets, we expect. The Giants, not so much. I thought, truthfully, the Giants were going to do a little bit better than what they're not doing this season. I would expect a little bit more from them. And I'm going to see if I can bring up maybe a son or two here from the Giants camp, because it's just, wow. It really makes you wonder what is going on in New York. And they keep believing that they're rebuilding, but I don't even think it's a rebuild anymore. We'll also go through the rundown of the NFL and what it may not have happened. I don't see, did I miss the one from the Giants? Let's see. Let me go back here and just take a look. Make sure that I did not miss it. New England. So I'll keep going through here and seeing that possibly there's nothing up here from the Giants. Okay, well, don't have a sounder for that one, but I'll see if I can bring up the one video that he had mentioned about Daniel Jones being sat down now. And matter of fact, I may have that up there before I get into some USF talk. Let me take a look back here and see what I had up there. Yep, I do. Matter of fact, so we'll get into this before I get into some USF talk here, but this is from Credit to Get Up. As this is the guys, and this is just, I don't even know what the words to say when it comes to the Giants, but according to Damian Woody, he reacts because they say they chose Daniel Jones over Saquon Barkley, and now look where you are as a franchise. As Damian Woody reacts to the Giants expecting to replace Daniel Jones with Tommy DeVito as the new starting quarterback, as Rick had mentioned. This was about an hour ago on Get Up, so I want to play this and then get some of the reaction from everyone else. It's crazy what's going on there in New York. But again, Giants doing, I guess, Giants things. So here is the guys from Get Up.
Listen, how would you like to be someone who has to walk into John Mara's office and be having conversations with him right now when Saquon Barkley is jumping over people backwards and is legitimately in the MVP conversation in his own division on an arch rival team, and here's the guy they chose over him, even though it was Barkley who single-handedly carried this team to the playoffs a couple of years ago, and they chose to pay Jones because they panicked. What a series of terrible decisions have left the Giants where they are right now, and they will have to reset completely. This is step one.
That's what I was about to say. They chose Daniel Jones over Saquon Barkley. And now look where you are as a franchise. I get it that, I guess it's not in vogue to pay running backs. I get all of that. But Daniel Jones should have never been in this position where he was paid that sum of money in the first place.
Well, and Daniel
Do you think
Jones,
the players knew that too? Absolutely.
Absolutely. Like you in the locker room.
Right. The guys bring up a great point, especially at the very end. When you hear Teddy saying, the guys know it. Listen, the Giants, I don't know. I don't know what in the world the Giants were thinking. We're getting rid of Saquon Barkley. Granted, listen, as an Eagles fan, I'm extremely happy that obviously he's here in Philly because thankfully Saquon has been a big difference maker so far, even with the guys being injured. He's been the biggest difference maker. But New York, you really have to wonder what is going to happen next for this. Supposedly, they don't want to get rid of Daboll. Supposedly, he is secured. Giants are okay with him. That they believe, no, we'll keep building around. Usually you hear the terms, right? You build around your quarterback and then you build up the rest of the team. Now, are they building around Daboll? Does that mean we're going to see an OC being fired, the DC being fired, special teams being fired? Because it seems like in the NFL anymore, they don't go after a head coach anymore. And even though I said to Tomlin, listen, I thought Tomlin last season was going to be gone. Tomlin has resurrected his career, right? So far, this season. I mean, you look at it, he beat the Ravens. So no matter which way you look at it, Tomlin's found a way to continue, and he's yet to have an under 500 season, which is incredible. But you look at the Giants, I mean, so are they really secure with Daboll? Do they really feel like he is going to be the head coaching answer of the future? Listen, I don't know. Maybe I need to get, other than, Joey B, get someone either on the phone or a Giants fan, someone to tell me otherwise, because right now, which you look at the Commanders / Redskins, and you look at them and you wonder, okay, sure, they picked up Jaden Daniels. Yes, they have Dan Quinn. No one knew what was going to happen because what we had seen from the Commanders in the past. So here we think, all right, could the Redskins possibly be in the rebuild mode, or, what are they going to do from this point? Who knew they were going to be as good as they were this year, and not taking anything away from them or their head coaching staff or obviously the coordinators they put together, but they did it right. The Giants kind of went, even worse direction, I believe, in my opinion, when it comes to the Jets. I mean, the Jets got rid of Salah and in the end, you're still not winning. And I'm quite sure later on you're going to have, Aaron out there with Pat McAfee and probably talk about some darkness and he needs Zoloft or whatever the case may be because, the gel is not coming right out of the can and who needs a pudding pop and whatever else that Aaron Rodgers ever talks about that no one ever cares about anymore either. You're not TB12. You're just not. TB12 is always going to be one of the greatest of all time. And even as an Eagles fan, which is tough to say, but he is. TB12 is going to be the greatest of all time. You're not him. You're not. I don't know. Call me crazy. You might even be a step down from Vinny Testaverde when Vinny Testaverde was getting ready to leave from the NFL, from retirement. He just needs to walk away. The Jets just need to figure out this. You guys, for whatever reason, passed up on Russell Wilson and you wanted Aaron Rodgers. Well, you got Aaron Rodgers. I don't know how much Devontae Adams is going to keep sticking up for his so-called quarterback because in the end, it's going to be just a complete mess out there with the Jets. But you keep doing the same thing and you're going to end up with the same results. And I don't know. It's a rat race between the Cowboys and the Jets before one of those two eventually will get out of the VCR era and finally get into the digital era of winning a Super Bowl. Dallas is just, The only reason why Dallas didn't lose once again is because Tyson lost. And I'll get into that too with Netflix a little bit later on. But I don't know. Dallas the same way. What's going to happen in Dallas is possibly that a landing spot. I don't think it's going to be for Belichick. And I thought it was kind of interesting. Someone had mentioned too that maybe Belichick and Jacksonville reaches out to him, but then you have to take the GM, as Pete talked about this morning, and make him an assistant or something else. I don't know if the GM wants that as well. There's just so many questions. There might be answered later on. Who knows, once again, if Dougie P will remain the head coach. You look at Atlanta. Atlanta's kind of going back to what some people probably thought in the very beginning, but then again, and the Bucks are still hanging around. Baker Mayfield still trying to do a lot of great things with the Bucks. I mean, there is so many. This time of the season where it gets really spicy in the NFL, really spicy. But the three, if you really look at it, Giants, Jets, Jacksonville. Those are your three that are at least the hot seat topic. And then you throw the Bengals in the mix there as well, because I know Mike Petraglia had a video that went out there. Unfortunately, I couldn't hear. I tried to play it. I couldn't hear it. Pete tried to play it on his end just to make sure it wasn't on my end. He couldn't hear either. And it stinks because apparently it was a really good hot take of what was said, but unfortunately none of us can hear it. So maybe Mike will put button back out there later on. I'll reshare it over on social media, so always stay tuned there. Don't forget, you can always call or text the show at 727-858-6650, 727-858-6650, and you can make your live comments here on across all these social media platforms, minus TikTok. If you guys ever see an account with me up there on TikTok, well, find out that it's not me because I don't have it, nor do I care to have it. It's bad enough I deal with Facebook. I'm just not in the mood to deal with TikTok either. So I never had it. So if you guys ever get a message anywhere out there about TikTok, I zero have it. And my wife knows it because I don't. Even my cousin tried to send me something yesterday and I told him I don't have it. Don't care for it. Sorry. Unless they change their ways and they do things better, I have no need for it. My go-to has always been, if you guys probably noticed the most, it's always been Twitter, X as it's called now. Always been my go-to, will always be my go-to. I don't do this nonsense when people talk about they abandoned this, they abandoned that. So whatever's. Trying to worry about that. But all right. So once again, Daniel Jones now benched for Tommy DeVito. That listen, to me, that's going to be interesting because who knows? Brian Daboll is going to have to just all together, it's going to have to be something. I don't know what's going to be, but it's going to be something where they're going to have to be in the discussion of, is Brian Daboll the coach in the future? Or are we going to see more of the same where they'll start getting rid of all the coordinators? So then now it almost brings the conversation back to Chicago once again with Matt Eberflus. New OC, and you may look, Caleb Williams look a little bit better, but you still end it with the same results. And I think a lot of folks in Chicago will probably echo the same thing, that Eberflus, in everyone's opinion, I guess except for the Bears brass, is that they feel he's still the answer. I don't. I mean, you're getting the same results. You take a look at Justin Fields, goes to Pittsburgh in a short amount of time and has success there. Brand new head coach, brand new OC, brand new QB coach. So when people thought that Justin Fields was the problem, obviously he wasn't the problem. You go back to Eberflus. So I don't know. You guys hear me talk about Nick Sirianni too. Nick so far has been quiet. Hopefully he'll stay that way. 6 wins for the Eagles. I'll take it. But you just wonder when it comes to another week in the NFL. And I know we missed our regular weekly 5 picks because, again, last week was just, there was a lot going on. So there's a lot of stuff that was missed. But I just hope that Nick Sirianni just says the very minimal. Just let us know injury updates, what's going on, a little bit of game plan, and let's see what happens this week in the NFL with the Eagles. Because, again, I don't want to jinx it by saying, yes, they're going to make the playoffs. I believe now that at least they are. And I said in the very beginning, the only problem that I also said in the beginning of part of season 2 was that I don't believe they'll make it far in the playoffs. Now, you can't continue, and this is something the Eagles continue to do, almost like Bengals-esque, where they have a slow start in the first half, an absolute slow start. And it really makes you scratch your head because Even I almost believe it was Jerry from Rhode Island who sent me a text and saying, like, what's with the start? It's like two different teams are showing up. And it's true. It seems like the offense is one page, the defense is on one page. But then what makes it worse is that you feel like the offense is split in half. Like they almost don't know what play to run, which route to run. And then all of a sudden they kind of come together. So I don't know what's going on. Maybe the Eagles are going back to Pee Wee League and eventually make it to the NFL by the time the third quarter rolls around. So I just hope for a better outcome this week. So far, the only game that I have lost throughout the entire weekend was the Niners-Seahawks. And I picked the Niners. I figured the Niners with getting some of their guys back and being healthier, they'll be able to take care of Seattle. But listen, Seattle took care of business. They did well. And we'll go through the rundown, as I mentioned before, with the NFL. So it is just, we hear about it all the time, right? It's any given Sunday, any given Saturday, any given Thursday, any given Monday. It's wild to see what happens this time of the year, and teams that are expected to win lose and vice versa. We hear it throughout the entire NFL season. We hear it all the time. But now it's just getting to the point of it is time for teams to show up, show out, or be out when it comes down to it. Penguin AZ with a message this morning. Good morning, Hermano Angel. Packers get lucky again. Go Pack Go. Sorry to Deb at Studio B. Good morning, my Hermano Penguin AZ out there from Arizona. But yeah, listen, you're right. And thankfully, we didn't get to watch. She didn't have to at least watch the loss. Thankfully, because we were covering the USF women's basketball team who ended up winning yesterday. I'll get that in. I'll talk about that after the break. But man, what a game yesterday at the Yuengling Center. Good crowd on hand. It was also nice to see the USF women's volleyball team for the first time in school history that they are the regular season AAC champs. And they have been doing so well this season. USF as a whole really have done well. And it started with the USF women's soccer team, which again, hats off to them because they were so close, made it to semis, end up losing just a trickled ball that rolled into the net. And I'm pretty sure, listen, not taking anything from the goalkeeper of the year, Galak, because she had what an incredible season she had. And if they played that well this season, which she should be returning in front of the net next season, I can't wait to see what happens. It can only go up from here. Coach Brown, what a successful season he had. First season as the head coach, spent many years as assistant coach behind his wife. And well, not behind, right next to her, because you can't really see behind when you're working side by side with each other. Both very competitive, as you guys had heard the interview earlier on this year, but this season, I should say. But listen, USF continues to do good things. And I know there was a lot of people just being harsh with Coach Golish. I mean, listen, there's only so much you can end up doing. Good thing was there was no fights. There was nothing but celebrations. Some people said they shouldn't have run it up, but again, yeah, and I'll bring up the press conference by Coach Golish out there in Charlotte. But listen, USF continues to do well. I am thankful enough to be covering their programs this season, especially a lot more than I did with seasons past. So it's a lot to juggle, a lot to have fun with, and it's good to see how these teams continue to exceed their own expectations. And we hope that continues, especially with both men and women's basketball, all the way up until we get to March Madness. And both of these teams are looking well. They both needed some home cooking in order to get things going. The women stopped their 2-game slide, which was good to see. And the same way with the men. So both will be back in action. I'll get into that, as I mentioned, also after the break. So it was just, what a great weekend. And listen, you have to be proud. If you are a USF alum, you have to be proud of where they are going. It's just great. It's great to see. And it's really, really, really nice to see as well by USF. So we'll get into that. And before I go into the break here, I'm also going to bring up here about from Get Up. And let me do a little refresh here so you guys can hear. I mentioned this at the top of the hour that Josh Allen is the best quarterback in the league. And David Woodring says after Josh Allen's performance in the Bills, win with the Chiefs should be, sometimes they mention about the MVP. So here's the gang from Get Up as I switch things around here so you guys can hear what a lot of people are probably thinking about Josh Allen. Again, he found a way to make the Chiefs their one loss.
The door of our building this morning, the first thing you said.
Josh Allen's best quarterback in the league. Josh Allen, the best quarterback in the league. Yeah, I know when I said that this morning, you were like, well, what about Lamar? What about Lamar Jackson? What about it? Josh Allen's the best.
Patrick Mahomes.
Josh Allen is the best quarterback in the National Football League. Right now, he's the best quarterback. He can beat you. You know how you talk about styles make fun? He can play whatever way you want to play. If you need him to air it out and throw it all over the yard, Josh Allen can do that. If you want him rumbling and tumbling all over the field, guess what? He can do that. And you know the thing that he's doing, probably the best he's done all his whole career, is taking care of the football.
He is.
He's taking care of the football. Josh Allen puts on his cape when he needs to put on his cape. And going head-to-head against Patrick Mahomes yesterday in the game of the year, Josh Allen was playing some of his best ball in the biggest game of the year.
Every time you say Josh Allen right there, I believe you can insert Patrick Mahomes. Really, because I think we're talking about the same beast here. I mean, I've seen Patrick Mahomes make runs like that on 4th and 2 also.
But you know what? But you know what the difference is? See, I know where you're going. You're going to, well, let's fast forward. Let's wait till we get when the games really matter in the postseason. I think that's the only thing left for Josh Allen in this situation is the playoffs. Because we know that bad man on 15 has something to say during that moment. But right now, Josh Allen's the best quarterback in the National Football League.
And see, I always said this. I always say the best player. And why do I say player over quarterback? Because he's more than just a quarterback. All right? This guy, let me tell you about him as a ball carrier. All right? 44% of the times that he carries the football, he runs for first downs. There's no ball carrier in the history of the National Football League that can say that. Only Josh Allen.
Great points. Great points. And I mean, Josh Allen, everybody saw him yesterday. If you happen to catch the game, if not, I'm pretty sure you guys can go back and watch the highlights. But you look at Josh Allen scrambling at the end there for the touchdown and even lowered his shoulder to take the hit to go into the end zone. I mean, let's say what people want to say. And I know he comes up short because I know the other side of the argument will always be, well, he doesn't come up big when he needs to be. We can say the same thing about Jalen Hurts. We can say the same thing about Joel Embiid. And God knows that disastrous mess plays tomorrow. Once again, the 2-9 Sixers, which that season might even be over before it even started for the Sixers. But I'll get into that maybe tomorrow, Wednesday, because Sixers are just not doing Sixers things. I don't even know what they're doing. They're doing. Maybe just do. I don't even think they have the ing in them either. But nonetheless. But no, listen, Josh Allen's probably going to be, he could be in that MVP conversation, possibly. If they go deep in the playoffs, I would say definitely. You know, I know a lot of folks might not believe in Lamar Jackson, which he probably end up being same thing, just like Pat Mahomes, just like a couple other quarterbacks in the MVP conversation. And I know it didn't come up for the Ravens the way they wanted to yesterday. Good for me, though, because I picked the Steelers, so it's good for my ranking picks. And I'll give an update on ESPN picks as well a little bit later on. But listen, nonetheless, Josh Allen and the Bills handed the Chiefs their first loss. And like the Chiefs are going to do, like Andy Reid's going to do, they're going to learn from it. They're going to grow from it. And doesn't mean that obviously that someone had knocked. If the Bills can do the same thing again, don't get me wrong, in the playoffs, if they meet once again in the playoffs, then it'd be great. Bills would have to continue to keep winning in order to get the home field advantage for the AFC side. So I just want to see what's going to happen there. Jerry from Rhode Island, speaking of, says Mahomes will never take the hits Allen takes. No, that's so true. Mahomes hits turf before contact. That's true. I mean, it's smaller body frame too, a little bit smaller, not much smaller, but no, Jerry, you bring up a good point. He wouldn't. He's not going to take the hit. Like Allen is just nuts. He knows it. Who's the one also from Tennessee? And I'm drawing a blank here and I'll get in a moment, but same thing when that young quarterback decides he wants to take a beating and then he's gotten rattled this season. The only good thing about in comparison to that is Jaden Daniels, where he finally started securing that helmet a little bit more after looking like a bobblehead and getting hit a couple of times earlier on during the season. And he was told either tighten down those straps on that chin or you're going to find out that concussion protocol it's not that far away. But yeah, Josh Allen is, the guy is running and turning into beast mode. The only thing that you don't want to do is get yourself injured, but he knew it. It's either run, make it in, or the Chiefs are going to find a way, as they usually do at the very end, to find it to win the game, but unfortunately, an interception thrown late with, I believe, 30 seconds left or whatever case may be, had sealed the deal for the Bills. So Bills Mafia celebrating out there in Buffalo. Chiefs, they already know. They know what they have to do. Come next week, get back into that winning franchise mode, and looking to be the only NFL team to win back-to-back Super Bowls. But it's a long road to the Super Bowl. A lot of things can happen. And then during the playoffs, everybody knows it is a complete different type of atmosphere. We see it in baseball. We see it in the NBA. We see it in the NHL. You even see it during soccer. So whoever is the hottest team going into the NFL playoffs are usually the ones that end up making a run to the Super Bowl. And everybody remembers last year, the Chiefs, a lot of folks said that they weren't going to make the Super Bowl. And Brian Neff, who's, the biggest probably advocate for when it comes to the Chiefs, and as honest as he was, even Brian said, they're not going. And I believed it. And then they turned around and found a way to do it. And the good thing was, normally he would just, I wouldn't say gloat, could be the wrong word to say. Ryan usually he'll be on a high horse for a little bit, just so he has fun talking about how they did it, how the Chiefs were able to win, but not this time. So it's just gonna be fun. I think from here going forward, especially when it comes to turkey games. Although do the Cowboys should they really host any more turkey games? And they keep calling America's team. I don't know why. I don't think they should be called America's team. But then again, who the heck am I to say anything, I guess, right? So I don't know. We'll see. I know the cheerleaders went out there for, which Netflix, I don't kind of understand that one. I understand because the Cowboys, Jerry Jones World hosted the fight. And to me, the whole cheerleader experience for Netflix didn't really make sense. But they did it because obviously the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, what they call America's team, has a special on Netflix. So they brought out a couple of folks in Netflix. So I guess I get it, but Netflix still has a couple of things to learn if they want to host events, because they should have known it was going to draw more people on the daily than what happens when you're live streaming something. But this was a live stream event. And they were probably good for the first 4 bouts. They were fine. I didn't have any issues up until when it came to Tyson fight. And then when the Tyson fight came around, no, let me take that back. We were watching the beginning portions of it. I want to say after about 15 to 20 minutes, my wife and I were realizing that obviously it was lagging. And I've never seen Netflix, maybe early on when they were coming on board, but usually you don't see them lagging. And then there was times where it would kind of rewind itself, which was really weird. But they should have expected, if you're putting on an event like this, it should have been truthfully all hands on deck. And maybe they should have gotten a hold of Elon and say, hey, Elon, we might need a couple extra satellites here to make this work. But this was, as I mentioned to Pete, this was probably a trial run for the upcoming Christmas Day game. And in case you guys don't know, apparently it was put out there earlier that I guess Beyonce is going to be the halftime performer for the Texans Netflix special this season. So take it for that. That's what it's worth. I don't know. Maybe she'll get that $10 million that she got and go out there on stage nonetheless. But anyways, all right. After the break, we'll get into some USF talk. Again, it was a big weekend for USF, and I'm very proud of how all the teams excelled over the weekend. Start the clock. New week, new set of games coming up. I'll get into that and much more here. Don't forget, you can call or text the show at 727-858-6650, 727-858-6650, or make your comments here on Pete's Facebook, Tampa Joe's, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, Rumble, Kicks.com, and of course, my favorite, over on Twitter. So thank you guys for tuning in. You are listening to Martinez Company here live on Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. We'll be right back.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
What's up, Southwest Florida? Jimmy the Beef Guy here. Fort Myers, we answered your call. We're pumped to announce the opening of our 2nd location It's on 41 just north of the Edison Mall. And guys, nothing's changed here. The beef, the sausage, the breaded steak from Maxwell Polish. Now serving you in 2 locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. And don't forget, if you're having a party, check out our catering menu. Hey guys, when you're at the counter, don't call it Gardenia. It's pronounced Jardiniere.
Phil Castanetti, Sports World in Saugus, Massachusetts is New England's place to buy or sell the finest in sports memorabilia. For over 35 years, Sports World has offered the finest in sports collectibles. Last month, you might remember Tim Thomas, legendary Bruins goalie, returned on October 5th. What a turnout it was. And now a new event coming up. On Saturday, November 30th, it's Willie O'Ree, yes, the original Jackie Robinson of the National Hockey League. He'll be signing autographs to the public, $25 each. There'll be photos, pucks, and cards available. Phone orders are welcome. Just call 781-233-7222 for more information. Sports World in Saugus. Be there. Hey, everybody, it's Pete Shepard from the Coastal Sports Network. Want to tell you about my good friend Lou DiMuzio and his company. Lou is the president and founder of Ace Technology Advisors. They're big-time tech specialists. At ATA, they're able to craft, implement, and manage the best and most appropriate solution for your business. They leverage their industry-leading experience and their portfolio of technology partners to improve your best practices and infrastructure. So you can get a hold of them at 888-599-4223. That's 888-599-4223. Check them out on their webpage, www.acetechadvisors.com. That's www.acetechadvisors.com. Or you can email them sales@acetechadvisors.com. Check out my friend Lou DiMuzio and Ace Technology Advisors.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute? When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you. You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
All right, class. Let's hear what everyone did this weekend. Jill?
Well, I raised my older sister to a big oak tree. It was at least 100 years old. My mom said I must have set a record or something. And then we went down by a stream and perched up on this huge rock and saw all these little minnows swimming around way below us. And then I rescued my little brother from an evil slug king who was guarding him at the bush fortress. And my sister and I brought him back to our super twig fort for safety. And then we all laid out and told stories until it got dark. And the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Awesome. Where were you, Jill?
Yeah. We went to the forest. It's not that far away. Anyone want to come this weekend?
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week and find the fun, adventurous you. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Download the Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game app and tell your friends that Florida has a new leader in digital sports radio.
All right, welcome back. It is now the bottom of the hour. What is it, 10:41 here on the East Coast of the United States of America, and we thank you all for tuning in. You're listening to Martinez Company. I am Angel Martinez, host, CEO, executive producer here at the Coastal Sports Network, also brought to you by Broad Street South, the company that started all that you guys can see directly behind me here, and Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. Don't forget, you can always download the app directly from the website and or right up there on your screen. If you guys take your phones and put it up there to that QR code, you guys can download the app that way. Therefore, you're on the road, you're at the gym, whatever the case may be, you can watch the live stream on the app. And then once you jump in your car, we want you to focus on the road and not on the app as far as the live stream. But you can switch over to the radio player and you guys can be able to pay attention from there as well. And I want to bring up, as I'm mentioning that, there's been some changes over to the website because of sometimes simple explanations that you have to end up putting down. And so that's what I normally like to do, is just do a simple explanation for some folks. So let me see if I can maybe share this over on this side of the house. And what I want to show you guys is I see Gaspum Guy says, good morning, Angel. Great show so far. Thank you, GPG. Missed you being around. I know you've been busy at work, and I do appreciate the hard work you guys have been you've been doing out there for your crew. And I'm pretty sure hopefully this week, maybe by Friday, you'll be back to be able to do the Bucks report. Duncan Dad says, good day, gentlemen. Good day, Duncan Dad. Good to see you as well. And I want to bring up as long, can I make this somehow the other way? Okay. Let me do this because I wanted to show it one way, but unfortunately it's not going to let me do it that way. So I'm going to do it like this here. All right. Let me switch over to the screen over here as well, so you guys can kind of follow along and you can end up seeing the updates to the website. Therefore, anything that I try to do, this will also be mirrored on the app. So how you see it here, the only difference is it'll be in a smaller scale when it comes to the app itself. But now, what you guys will end up seeing is over here, I guess for some folks, when I had click here for all live programming and the on-demand portion of it, people were still saying, hey, where can I find the show? So it's self-explanatory. Some folks couldn't get it, so I try to make it just a little bit easier. Now, for the shows, all you have to do is basically click on any of these buttons here, and it's going to take you over to where the live shows are. Also, as I mentioned, you can download the digital sports app right from this button right above the Tampa Bay Sun Football Club logo up there. Right up there, you guys can just go right there and click on it. Now, on which, for example, I'll click on Martinez Company, and then it'll take you over to the live shows, and you'll see, and I'll see myself up here as well. You guys, if you listen in on the app up here, it'll always say click here to unmute. That's the other thing I get from folks as well. How do I listen to the show? Okay, well, two different ways. One is you unmute it. If I do it now, I'm going to hear myself, which I don't want to do, but you'll be able to hear it. You'll also be able to pause the live show if you have to take a phone call or something else. And then, of course, you can make it into a full screen mode. You also have the radio player, which, I can't play at the moment, or I will hear myself in double talk. But you can hear the live player there. You can always call the show, text the show directly from there. And this will all be found on the app. And then, of course, the instant replay of the shows after they're done. I post them up a little bit later on. So in case you guys missed a live version of it, and for some reason Facebook or anybody else cuts off whatever was on the show, you can always go back and listen to it over on the app where nothing gets cut off. And then the audio replay will always be available later on during the day. That is for every show. Also, if you click on the accordion, and it'll give you a little rundown about every host. And then you can always end up following us here. All you got to do at the very bottom will say follow on X, and then everyone's individual handle, whether they're on Twitter or they're on Instagram, it'll come up there so you guys can give every personality a follow. So therefore you won't miss a thing. So that's the explanation for there. And again, it's the same way, whether it's Pete in the morning, myself later on, my Mono Q will be here later on. He'll be on at 5 o'clock. And of course, Bee's World, same thing later on for Lloyd Vance, who comes on at 8 o'clock. And of course, Talking Hoops, they will be the Wednesday night show. So I want to share that with everybody because, again, as I do things, I want to make sure that everybody stays updated. When you look at it on your phone on the app itself, when you bring it up, now it has been resized. So it used to do a kind of like a slide around type deal. Now it's just resized. Therefore, you guys can keep up with it and you can expand it as well. So I just want to make sure I share that out there with everybody. So once again, you can download the app and take advantage of the app as well. And you can take a look around and seeing USF content will be updated here this week. It's going to be really interactive, which will make it fun for those who follow USF. So you can go directly over through our website into the athletics website as well. But there's going to be some neat features I'm going to throw up there. So just to make it more interactive with everyone as well. So, and then of course, all of our sponsors are right there on the home landing page. So you guys can visit our beautiful sponsors. And then, as we like to say, you guys can always patronize them. Therefore, they are just as happy as we are as them being here with us. Beef, speaking of, great to see my man. Welcome back, Angel LFG. Yes, Beef, we will be on later on. It's going to be a hot topic tonight at 6 p.m. with Beef. So don't forget to tune in. And as I just mentioned, you guys will be able to watch the instant replay from Beef. If you missed the show tonight, you'll be able to watch that until we get back on there Wednesday. So Beef's World is Monday nights, Wednesday nights from 6 to 7. And then minus if there's a game, then Beef and I try to work things out, just like I have to do with Talking Hoops. And then we rearrange stuff just to make sure. But last week, it was, like I mentioned, it was a little bit crazy. But Beef's World will be back from 6 to 7 p.m. tonight. Wednesdays, 6 to 7. Fridays, he joins me at 11 o'clock in the morning, which is always a good time. Speaking about joining me as well, as I mentioned this probably at the end of last week, this upcoming Wednesday, Vanya from 90 Day Fiance, before the 90 days, you guys can watch on Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. She will be joining me on the Wednesday show, and she'll mention about her and Bojo, the gentleman that she went to seek in Croatia. If you guys missed the show this week, you know he's going to end up watching it on the replay. But myself and TLC have been really nice to coordinate this together, and she will be on the show here come Wednesday. And who knows, maybe she'll drop a little bit of what's going on with her and Bojo and what's going on with her personally. So it should be a good time Wednesday with Vanya right here on the Coastal Sports Network. Jay says, see you at 6. LFG, definitely indeed. Beef, I will see you at 6 p.m. It's always a good time when him and I are on, and it's, you already know, very well opinionated, very knowledgeable. Beef's World, in case you guys missed it, it'll be on tonight at 6 p.m. All right. Now, with that all being said, as I mentioned before, USF, big weekend. This is from Ryan, the play-by-play announcer for USF Athletics and the American Conference on ESPN Plus, who does an amazing job. Here is the call, as he's been doing all season long. This one, especially gratifying for USF women's volleyball team, and they have really stepped it up with their head coach as she has been building quite the program. Here's the call for the regular season champs from the AAC. Here's Ryan with a call.
It is Dykes on the overpass for a championship. Won't go. Into the middle. For the first time in 22 years, the South Florida Bulls are conference champions. This is no longer a rebuild. It is rebuilt.
And let me tell you, as a broadcaster, there's nothing better than to be able to do something like that. Is to be able to say whether a team made the playoffs for the first time, whether they're conference champions for the first time. There is nothing better than that. And listen, hats off once again to the women who have been excelling this season for USF. And if you guys, they put out tweet after tweet, in case you guys missed it on Instagram. I can't say as much because, again, I don't follow as much as over there. But I know definitely on Twitter, it's every match they put out there. It can be more than about 5 or 10 minutes apart when they throw something up there. But for the USF women's volleyball team, hats off, conference champions, AAC, for the first time, as you heard Ryan mention it, in 22 years, this university continues to quietly make noise. So hats off and congratulations to the women's volleyball team. Duncan Dad says, Bears World, Shawing, party on Angel, party on Beef. Listen, yeah, swing, yeah, definitely. I will say thank you, Duncan Dad. I do appreciate it. I'm pretty sure he'll be joining me sometime this week as well. Also on Wednesday, I should have back the head coach, Jonathan Hevia from the Wesley Chapel Kings. We're going to have an announcement coming up this Wednesday as well. So it's going to be a busy Wednesday. In case you guys missed it, we'll be back on from 10 to 12. Huge announcement coming up here with Coach Hevia from the Wesley Chapel Kings. So that should be a lot of fun. And the other thing that I want to get into some highlights here before I get into Coach's press conference, Coach Galash, about the win on Saturday versus Charlotte. Listen, and I mentioned this prior to, there's been, and I want to bring up the stats here from the game on Saturday. There's been people, and everybody, the great thing about this world is we are all entitled to our opinions, and no one should ever tell you that you don't have the right to speak, because guess what? We do have the freedom of speech. We have the freedom to say whatever we want to say, bad, crazy, indifferent, whatever. That's the best thing about it, because if we were all the same, think about how boring this world is. So nonetheless, I say it with that because there's been people have been saying that they believe that USF made the wrong hire. Now, are they going to be able to do what they did last season, come out like gangbusters and obviously winning their bowl first time with, first year head coach? They're still bowl eligible if they can win this upcoming weekend versus Tulsa. And I believe they can at Raymond James Stadium before they play their last game at Rice. But listen, he's done, in my opinion, from what I've seen this season, a good enough job where I don't believe he shouldn't be terminated. And I'm probably one of the worst critics when it comes to the Eagles. And I say Nick Sirianni should be fired. And who knows? There's probably 900,000 other people that say that he shouldn't be fired. But it's just one man's opinion. But when it comes to coach here for USF, he's been doing an exceptional job with this program. And it'll continue to be the same exact way. You have to remember the recruiting class. There's so many elements different from the NFL that these guys have to go through and try to put together and build around their quarterback. Now, Archie, as we know, has had a struggle this season. No one can say that he hasn't. He's had his own struggles he's been trying to deal with. Over the weekend, he did well. He went 11 for 16, 126 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception, a rating of 122.4, but nonetheless, they got the job done, and most of it was on the ground. The other portion of it also was defensively, what USF was able to do. But to turn around and say, and again, we all get frustrated. I don't believe, just in my opinion, what do I know, but covering USF, and I don't believe he should be fired. it will continue to get better. The program will continue to get better. It may not be like in years past with USF, but eventually we'll get there. Let's not forget, too, there have been a lot of gentlemen that have come out of USF class football program that have gone on to not only play in the NFL, but become a Super Bowl champion in the NFL. Latest one being BJ Daniels with the Seahawks. So listen, it's going to get better, and it will get better. And it's also going to lead up to that great stadium they're going to build and have completed by 2027, God willing, as long as, no hindering kind of crazy weather prevents it from happening, or materials, whatever the case may be. And everybody's going to be super excited. As I even heard it the week prior when we were at Raymond James Stadium, everybody's excited to see what the stadium's going to turn out to be like. So it's going to be great to see. But over the weekend, the South Florida Bulls take care of Charlotte 59-24. And did they run it up? Yeah, I'm not going to lie. Of course they ran it up. If you have the opportunity to give one of your young up-and-coming running backs an opportunity to score, you're going to do it. We heard the same thing right when it came to FAU. FAU did it versus USF. USF turned around and did it against them this season as well. And by the way, FAU lost to Temple, who were they're both bad teams. FAU and Temple's just one game better now than FAU. But again, it's not going to, every year, you're not going to have stellar years when it comes to the college programs, but they will continue to learn and get better. So I'm not throwing any shade whatsoever towards FAU or Temple. It's just that some years are just not where you want them to be. But USF continues to excel at 5-4 now. Total yards for USF was 551. 425 of those yards came on the ground, and it was a running performance that everyone kind of expected and what everybody wanted to see against Navy. Honestly, when you look back at the Navy game, and about midway towards the third, we started seeing the fans leaving from Raymond James Stadium on that Navy game. But then at Charlotte, truthfully, almost like 3 minutes or so into the third, the fans were already leaving, and then the rest of them say, but you always have your faithful, right? Just like you have USF fans that are faithful and they'll wait around like any other team. But a lot of them exited out. But 425 rushing yards for your USF Bulls, 91 for Charlotte. Passing yards, like we mentioned, that went to Charlotte with 256, although they still ended up with a loss. Purdy, quarterback for Charlotte, ended up going 17 for 39, 256 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, and a rating of 96.9. Now, here comes the big details here, where you have Joyner, number 8 for USF, with 140 yards on 9 attempts, 2 touchdowns, and longest run was for 54 yards. Then followed by Archie, 6 attempts, 72 yards, as he looked good, really good on Saturday. No touchdowns, but nonetheless, ended up getting 72 yards. Keith, number 9, 45 yards off of 8 attempts, 1 touchdown, 16 yards for the longest run for him. For Wright, number 5, 7 attempts, 43 yards, 2 touchdowns, 11 yards, the longest one he ran for. And other notables were Johnson with 33 yards, Carter with 29, Atkins with 14, Young with 12. But again, the groundwork ended up happening for the USF Bulls. Receiving was Atkins, number 38, with 32 yards total, no touchdowns. Wright also with 50 yards, no touchdowns. Singletary, 39 yards, no touchdowns. And Smith, all notables, with 5 yards. This team was a tale of two different tales. And you hear me mention it sometimes when I'm tweeting it out when I'm there at Raymond James Stadium. You'll hear me say it all the time. Penalties, though, are something that USF continues to work on, because the penalties were 9 for 70 yards. For Charlotte was even worse, 12 for 103 yards. So USF will continue to get better. Coach Galesh will continue to get better. So when people want him terminated, and again, we're all entitled to our opinions. That's what makes everything completely awesome about this world, is that just pump the brakes a little bit. He will get better. This season is not done yet. One more game, just one more win will make you bowl eligible once again, which would be good for Coach and obviously good for the team, especially for the seniors who are getting ready to graduate off this USF football team. But nonetheless, this was just incredible. In the third quarter alone, it was 31 points. And that's why, honestly, the Charlotte fans were leaving, because they had had enough. And then they scored 14 more in the fourth. So, difference was it a smidge of last week when Navy kind of a little bit of a slow start. It was for both teams. Honestly, they only scored 7 both in the first quarter, but then coming to second, it was 7 for USF, 3 for Charlotte. And, after that, Charlotte scored 2 more, once in the third, 1 more in the fourth, towards the very end of the game. But nonetheless, this was a complete different matchup from the week before. So one more home game coming up at this weekend. It'll be versus Tulsa. And I do believe it was that was the to be announced time. So I will make sure I'll get that out there. I don't think I saw it earlier today, but I'll make sure I get it out there for you guys. But I want to bring up some of Coach's press conference. It was 14 minutes. I'm not going to play all 14 minutes here, but I'm going to play some of it so you guys can hear the difference between last week to this week from Coach and from the team. So here is Coach press game conference. In case you guys had missed it, this is him on Saturday after the win in Charlotte.
Good to go. Okay. Start off with obviously the first half. Such a huge emphasis on starting fast. Just execution-wise offensively. I thought defensively it took us a second to tighten down, but we did. I spent literally, I feel like I've spent the last month trying to find ways to make sure we start fast.
All right. Unfortunately, it's coming in a little bit low, which is not under my control. It's just the way they recorded it. So, but you hear Coach a little bit saying that, he's been trying to find ways to start fast. Unfortunately, not being the case for USF, and they will get there. When I say they will get there, they're going to get there for sure. So Coach has done, and the guys for the most part, listen, well-deserved celebration that they had on the field on Saturday. Come back, put in the grind again this week, so they can hopefully make now back-to-back wins, and again get that bowl eligible notch under the belt coming up this weekend. Tulsa should be a team they can win against. But again, it's like the NFL. It's any given Saturday, and we shall see. All right. I'm going to take my next break here. When we come back, we'll get into USF women's basketball, and then we'll get into some NFL talk as well. So, oh boy, just it was a busy weekend. A lot of fun for sure. And we thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget, you can always text and or call the show at 727-858-6650. 727-858-6650. So after the break, we'll get into some USF women's basketball, which was a great show on the court yesterday at the Yingling Center. Hopefully they'll continue to pack the house even more. I thought the funniest part yesterday was one of University of Texas, Rio Grande team. When she went to go sit down, it was number 20. As she went to sit down, you can hear the band and everyone just, it wasn't a mock, but it was just a great chant. And then finally, when she went to go sit down, they all yelled out, "Sit down," which I thought was absolutely hilarious. But all right, so we'll get into some basketball talk after break. You are listening to Martinez Company here live on the Coastal Sports Network, brought to you by Broad Street South and Sports Radio 102.9 FM. The Game. We'll be right back.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
What's up, Southwest Florida? Jimmy the Beef Guy here. Fort Myers, we answered your call. We're pumped to announce the opening of our second location. It's on 41 just north of the Edison Mall. And guys, nothing's changed here. The beef, the sausage, the breaded steak, our Maxwell Polish. Now serving you in 2 locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. And don't forget, if you're having a party, check out our catering menu. Hey guys, when you're at the counter, don't call it gardenia. It's pronounced Chardonnay.
Phil Castanetti Sports World in Saugus, Massachusetts is New England's place to buy or sell the finest in sports memorabilia. For over 35 years, Sports World has offered the finest in sports collectibles. Last month, you might remember Tim Thomas, legendary Bruins goalie, returned on October 5th. What a turnout it was. And now a new event coming up. on Saturday, November 30th. It's Willie O'Ree, yes, the original Jackie Robinson of the National Hockey League. He'll be signing autographs to the public, $25 each. There'll be photos, pucks, and cards available. Phone orders are welcome. Just call 781-233-7222 for more information. Sports World and Saugus, be there. Hey, everybody, it's Pete Shepard from the Coastal Sports Network. Want to tell you about my good friend Lou DiMuzio and his company. Lou is the president and founder of Ace Technology Advisors. They're big-time tech specialists. At ATA, they're able to craft, implement, and manage the best and most appropriate solution for your business. They leverage their industry-leading experience and their portfolio of technology partners to improve your best practices and infrastructure. So you can get a hold of them at 888-599-4223. That's 888-599-4223. Check them out on their webpage, www.acetechadvisors.com. That's www.acetechadvisors.com. Or you can email them sales@acetechadvisors.com. Check out my friend Lou DiMuzio and Ace Technology Advisors.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
All right, class, let's hear what everyone did this weekend. Jill?
Well, I raised my older sister to a big oak tree. It was at least 100 years old. My mom said I must have set a record or something. And then we went down by a stream and perched up on this huge rock and saw all these little minnows swimming around way below us. And then I rescued my little brother from an evil slug king who was guarding him at the bush fortress. And my sister and I brought him back to our super twig fort for safety. And then we all laid out and told stories until it got dark. And the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Wow. Awesome. Where were you, Jill?
Yeah. We went to the forest. It's not that far away. Anyone want to come this weekend?
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week and find the fun, adventurous you. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Don't just follow us on the socials. Call or text the show 727-858-6650 and let us know what's on your mind. Now back to Martinez and Company.
I'm wide awake, and all the voices in my head wanna play. You gotta take me to the place where the bass and all the hidden ways unfold. Where the most in lights get to be. I'm wide awake.
Yes, indeed. We are wide awake here. It is the top, a little bit past the hour there, 11:10 here on the East Coast of the United States of America, here in Florida. Thank you all for tuning in here to Sports Radio 102.9 FM, The Game. Here, the home of, Broad Street South and Coastal Sports Network, and maybe soon home to someone else as well, as we do appreciate everyone who tunes in from around the world. As we are not only obviously here nationally, but worldwide as well. As Penguin AZ likes the tunes there, and he's dancing a little bit. So listen, I try to bring a little bit of flavor for everything. And on the Latin side, I'll be bringing that back as well, as there's a lot of stuff going on here on the network. Also a big home win for the Tampa Bay Sun Football Club. They pull off the win at home Saturday night. It seemed like a very good crowd on hand. Unfortunately, I was not able to cover the game on Saturday because of another thing I had to do on Saturday afternoon. So it was a conflict of interest as far as getting things done. But nonetheless, Tampa Bay Sun Football Club pull off another victorious win at home. That is good, which is exactly what they need. There's still a long season to go, so the team continues to get better with Denise Schultz-Brown, former head coach of USF, now the head coach of the Tampa Bay Sun Football Club. All right, now, for what we all been waiting for, the women's basketball team. And yes, the men pulled off the win as well on Friday. And that's why I said it was a winning weekend at USF. Here is a highlight. We'll give you the stats here momentarily. And some of Coach's press conference, Coach Fernandez, as he is wishing himself a happy birthday. And he got a good gift from the ladies yesterday. 25 years over at USF. But here is the game highlights. And we'll get into the stats here momentarily. Here's a recap of what happened on the hard court out there at the Yuengling Center.
Bulls and Vaqueros ready to go. Inez Piper, Charlotte O'Keefe, and we are underway. Brito. Piper with a nice move to the basket, the left hand, and Piper hits the shot and has a free throw coming. And again, forced into a difficult shot. Puisis, the open look. Dembele found her, and Puisis didn't hesitate. She's got 5. That was her 14th of the season. The block by Piper. She's played a big role in her first South Florida start. She threads the needle, hits Brito.
6 missed free throws. You don't want to lament that at the end of the day.
Puisis to the hoop with the left hand. The scoop for Puisis. Knocked away by Piper. Bulls come up with a big defensive play. Puisis from long range off the glass. Holloman gets the baseline, but Arnio cuts off the shot. Puisis from Dembele, and she hits again. Arnio on the floor together at the same time. Don't see that too often. Here's Dembele. In time and off the glass. Mama Dembele beats the buzzer.
I was going to say, if he wants to add one to a lot of those boxes this year, he's going to need his team to play really clean basketball in this fourth quarter.
Now, a couple of names are mentioned there with Mama and Puisis. As you guys can hear, both ladies doing extremely well on the court last night, especially with Mama, because she was, listen, small young lady, but man, what an impact she made on the floor last night. Now, I want to bring up the stats here as long as I can find them here amongst my board. Taking a look at, let's go with the final stats. Here for the ladies, again, against the University of Texas, Rio Grande. This was the final last night, 57-45, which is, again, a good crowd on hand at the Yuengling Center. And you can, listen, for the amount of people that were there, you would think that it was a packed house. Nonetheless, the women start off, I would say, fast, and then end up at parts where end up slowing down a little bit. But nonetheless, once USF had the lead, they did not look back. At times, UT had, I think the closest they had gotten at one point was within 10, and they was, both teams went through scoring droughts. One was a 7-0 run that UT had towards the end of the game with about 3 minutes, 20 seconds. They had a run on USF, but nonetheless, at the very end of it, they had a scoring drought, by USF with about some 5 minutes and change towards the very end of it. Nonetheless, the USF women's basketball team end up holding off for the win. You heard Sammy's name being mentioned a lot. This was from the some of the finals here from last night, but you have Sammy with 17 points, 7 for 17 for field goals, 3 for 6 on the three. And the deep one that she had was definitely, that was 2 threes and less than, I want to say about a minute and a half apart from each other. And a couple other ones that were missed after that mention there. 7 rebounds for Sammy, 3 assists, and again, end up playing 30 minutes on the court for Dembele, number 4, 8 points, 4 for 7 for field goals, 0 for 1 on the threes, and 3 assists, 5 rebounds. And then other notable mentions was number 5, Blasic with 2 points, Piper, number 14, with 15 points. Went 7 for 16 for threes, 1 for 1 on the free throw, and then 7 rebounds, 2 assists. And then Brito was, I want to say, a key element of that win yesterday. That, other than the height that she has, the position where she played around the court, at times she was getting frustrated because some calls, listen, and I'm not there. The only thing is, as part of media, you can't do is you can't scream or shout or feel like the way you normally do as a fan. But there were a couple calls that should have gone USF way, and it didn't. It went more towards UT, not to include number 33, and I don't think her stats are up here from UT, but at one point looked like a linebacker where she ran directly into, and it may have been of Dembele, and then basically knocked her over, and not a call. Yet there were some calls that went against USF that didn't make any sense and made you scratch your head and think like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Nonetheless, there was no complaining. Everyone ended up taking it in stride. And at the end, the outcome was exactly what Coach Fernandez wanted, it was the win. Stop the 2-game slide that he had. So now this team will be on the court once again, I believe. Let me go back and double check here, as I had the screen up, and I'll have to wait. There's the one for the men. As always, there's always 50 million things to end up doing, but nonetheless, bring up the women's basketball, as I had the schedule up there, and now all I have to do is look back here, make sure I bring up the team. And for the women's side, look up their schedule here. As not only obviously being 3-2 with the win last night, but the next opponent will be at home versus Jacksonville University. That would be at 7:00 at the Yuengling Center. Hopefully they'll, as they prepare to then soon for the WBCA State Farm Showcase, and that'll be against Louisville in Louisville. That's supposed to be in Orlando at the ESPN Wild Worlds of Sports Complex. That is for, again, State Farm Showcase. And then, of course, it came in the Classic and then back to the regular schedule. But they're coming up. That'll be Wednesday, 7 o'clock versus Jacksonville University at the Yuengling Center. The women right now are 3-2. And while I have that up here as well for the men, as again, the win started with the men on Friday before the win on Saturday by USF football. They had stopped a 2-game lose streak, one against Florida, one against College of Charleston. They had one on the road against Arkansas Pine Bluff at 85-69. And then the win at home against West Georgia on Friday night, 74-55. They take on them for the Myrtle Beach Invitational, November 21st against Portland in Conway, South Carolina. And then the other games on Friday and Saturday Friday and Sunday are to be announced before they come back home again after they play. The next home game will be December 3rd on Tuesday versus Stetson. But the men are 2-2. Nope, that is incorrect. The men right now, are 3-2, as the record is not posted up there correctly, or am I seeing things? No, I'm sorry, 2-2 because the exhibition doesn't count. They are 2-2. I thought they were 3-2, so that was wrong, incorrect by me here. They are 2-2 for the season. Again, next game will be against Portland. Now, for the men, again, this is what started off. The Friday night win, 74-55, and I do believe I have. Let me go back and double check the stats, and I could be wrong. But the men pull off the win yes, I do. On Friday night, the attendance, 4,411 folks out there at the Yuengling Center. Some of the notable games here are some of the notable mentions. In the first half for USF, it was 8 for 29 on the field goals, 3 for 13 on the three-pointers, 5-11 for free throws. On the second half is when it got a tad bit better, 12 for 28 for field goals, 2 for 6 on the three-pointers, 5 for 8 on the free throws. Now, as far as your leaders, 4 points here, you had Stroud, number 5, with 11 points. You had CJ Brown, number 11, with 11. Ademoyka Quincy was with 8 points. Jennings, number 13, with 7. And Green with 5. Other notable mentions as well. Williams, number 3, with 14. Reynolds, number 2, with 12 points. Walker, number 15, with 4, and then finishing was Wright, number 7, with 2 points. But it all started with the men on Friday night, not taking anything away from the other teams as well. They got the action going for USF throughout the entire weekend. So again, a winning weekend for USF, and we hope it continues Wednesday night, once again, as mentioned, with the women being back on the hard court at Yuengling Center before the State Farm Series begins in Orlando. And then the same way with the men coming up, USF men's football this Saturday as they take on Tulsa. So that should be a good game. Just one more win, just one more. And I want to bring up Coach. I had it up here a second ago, but I do want to bring up an article here from the USF. This was, again, from yesterday. Graduate guard Sammy Pusis, you guys know, 17 points. Graduate forward Ines Piper, 15 points combined for 32 points in the South Florida women's basketball, who are now 3-2, 47-55 victory against University of Texas Rio Grande University, 1-3 in the Yuengling Center on Sunday afternoon. Piper's full stat line consisted of 15 points, a career best 5 steals, a season best 3 blocks, and 7 rebounds. Pusis, 17 points, and senior forward Lior Mputu joined Piper with 7 rebounds apiece. Graduate guard Mama Dembele, added 8 points, a season best 5 rebounds, and a season high 4 steals. Junior forward Charlotte O'Keefe led the visiting Vaqueros with an 11-point and 18-rebound double-double performance. How the game was decided in the opening stanza, South Florida outscored UT 26-12, where the Bulls shot an impressive 70% from the field goal range. Within the opening run, Piper led the way with 9 points, and Pusis followed with 7. Down the stretch in the third quarter, The Vaqueros managed to trim the Bulls' lead to 6 points with a triple from freshman guard Yana Angolet, and the score was 32-26, USF. The green and gold answered with a 23-9 scoring spurt, which was sparked by a layup from Dembele, who would add 6 points. Pusis contributed 8 points, 2 triples, and a jumper, and at the end, it was a stretch 55-35 USF, who had the largest lead of the night, 20 points, en route to the victory. Now, I do want to bring up coaches. I believe the audio should be a little bit better here for Coach Fernandez, as again, I'll share this tab over here. Therefore, you guys can end up seeing, and you can hear what Coach had to say after the game. And then after the game, there was the autograph session by the ladies for those in attendance from Yuengling. So here is Coach Fernandez.
Yeah, it was of course, different playing without Romy, and we saw that at Vanderbilt. You know, her getting hurt in those first 4 or 5 minutes. So, yeah, we had to play some unconventional lineups today that just because of we got into foul trouble, right? And it's very uncharacteristic for us to commit to 21 fouls. That's just not us, but I thought we held a good team. This was their 4th road game. They went on the road and beat Houston. You know, that UTSA game on the road for them was a really good game. And then, you know, they got down against Oral Roberts and fought their way back. I think they're gonna be really, really good in their conference. They got a special player in 5, Hackerat. They know what they want to do offensively. They have a pretty good identity. You know, they stretch you out and they can shoot the 3. And that was the thing. They're coming in averaging 10, 11 made 3s a game, and they only hit 6. But if we can defend like that, I'm just not pleased us shooting the number that we shot, the 38% from the floor. We got to find a way to get to the free throw line more. And that's got to get better there. But, you know, the points off of turnovers, the points in the paint, and I thought we got out in transition and did some good things. We just struggled in the half court, and that's got to get better quickly.
Do you hear Coach kind of talk about obviously the performance out there on the hard court, but nonetheless it was good. He was a little animated, I will say, yesterday, not in a bad way. I don't want anybody taking that out of freaking context or anything else. He was just upset, rightfully so, because the foul trouble that USF got into yesterday. But nonetheless, the women end up pulling off the win, more importantly. And it's good to see the crowd that was on hand, the support for USF women's basketball, you know, for every USF athletic department. But it was good to see the crowd on hand there yesterday at USF. All right. We will take our last commercial break before we get into some more football talk. And I do see Duncan Dad in a green room waiting patiently. So we will take our last commercial break here on Martinez Company. Of course, you can listen to us Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 10 to 12, which follows the Pete Shepard Show. Pete starts off the morning from 7 to 10 a.m. Then after that is myself here, Angel Martinez Company from 10 to 12. Monday afternoons will be with The Drive with Q, my hermano, Rich Quinones, from 5 to 6 p.m. tonight. Then following him will be B's World from 6 to 7. And then capping off tonight will be Lloyd Vance's Insider Football. All right. So we'll take a very quick break. We'll come back as we're starting to get, I guess, some of the party lines going here. But we'll take a quick break. We'll come back. It won't be the full break. We'll get our sponsors in. We'll come back. And then we'll get into some NFL talk here. You are listening to Martinez Company, brought to you by Broad Street South, here live in the Tampa studios, the Coastal Sports Network, and Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. We'll be right back.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
What's up, Southwest Florida? Jimmy the Beef Guy here. Fort Myers, we answered your call. We're pumped to announce the opening of our 2nd location. It's on 41 just north of the Edison Mall. And guys, nothing's changed here. The beef, the sausage, the breaded steak are Maxwell Polish. Now serving you in 2 locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. And don't forget, if you're having a party, check out our catering menu.
Hey guys, when you're at the counter, don't call it Gardenia. It's pronounced Chardonnay.
Phil Castanetti Sports World in Saugus, Massachusetts is New England's place to buy or sell the finest in sports memorabilia. For over 35 years, Sports World has offered the finest in sports collectibles. Last month, you might remember Tim Thomas, legendary Bruins goalie, returned on October 5th. What a turnout it was. And now a new event coming up. On Saturday, November 30th, it's Willie O'Ree, yes, the original Jackie Robinson of the National Hockey League. He'll be signing autographs to the public, $25 each. There'll be photos, pucks, and cards available. Phone orders are welcome. Just call 781-233-7222 for more information. Sports World in Saugus. Be there. Hey, everybody, it's Pete Shepard from the Coastal Sports Network. Want to tell you about my good friend Lou DiMuzio and his company. Lou is the president and founder of Ace Technology Advisors. They're big-time tech specialists. At ATA, they're able to craft, implement, and manage the best and most appropriate solution for your business. They leverage their industry-leading experience and their portfolio of technology partners to improve your best practices and infrastructure. So you can get a hold of them at 888-599-4223. That's 888-599-4223. Check them out on their webpage, www.acetechadvisors.com. That's www.acetechadvisors.com. Or you can email them sales@acetechadvisors.com. Check out my friend Lou DiMuzio and Ace Technology Advisors.
Download the Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game app and tell your friends that Florida has a new leader in digital sports radio.
All right, hopefully we won't hear the echo back again, but we should be good there. Let me make sure. All right, see Duncan Dad, I don't think I hear the echo anymore, so we should be good there. All right. All right, welcome back. This will be the final half hour here of the show. It is 11:31 here in the great state of Florida, of course, on the west coast of Florida as well, in the Tampa Bay region. We thank you all for tuning in. We do appreciate it. It is Martinez Company up until 12 p.m. today, followed by the Drive with Q at 5 o'clock, then Bees World, and then capping off tonight will end up being Lloyd Vance's Insider Football. So a lot that's going on. As Penguin AZ says, what up, Duncan Dad? And also on the line with us, it's been a minute, and I know he's been extremely busy, but I appreciate his time as always. Gas Pump Guy joins us as well down there by Fort Myers. And first of all, Gas Pump Guy, before I say good morning to Duncan Dad as well, but good morning, Gas Pump Guy. How are you?
I'm good. Good morning. Yeah, it was a busy week last week. I really didn't get to listen. I know you were not on Monday and not on Friday, and I tried to listen on Wednesday, but things didn't line up the way that I thought they were going to. But all in all, it's a slower start to the week, so we're good to go.
Well, that's always a good thing. And Duncan Dad, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, everyone. How are we out there?
We are doing just fine. It is a good football Monday. We're waiting to see if Dougie P is going to be let go from the Jacksonville Jaguars. It is a bye week for Jacksonville. I don't listen, and because both of you guys end up paying attention to that one as well. But you got to really kind of think about it. If they fired the OC, will it make a difference in Jacksonville? At this point, it's none of us, especially you and I, Duncan Dad, is that we saw what he did in Philly, and we thought those expectations, the same thing down here in Jacksonville, that it would have been the same, but not even remotely close to what he did with the Eagles. So do you, and Gaspon Guy, I'll get to you next, but in your valued opinion, Duncan Dad, do you see possibly letting him go?
If they're going to make a change this year, it's going to be made during the bye week. If he comes out of the bye week, he's going to finish out the season. I know Seed came out and said that they had assembled the greatest Jacksonville Jaguars personnel lineup ever in the team's history this season. There's a lot of expectations. I've heard through multiple sources that blame should partly be shared as well with the GM. I think it's Storley his name is. It's a double-edged sword. Again, who do you have that's going to replace him is a little bit of an injection of energy into the team. You really don't know where Lawrence stands at this point. You're so far gone in the season. Do you really even want to rush Lawrence back at this time? An ounce prevention, pound a cure, old adages, but I don't see whom else they could get to replace Peterson, although making the change sort of seems the right sort of path to follow out at this point. It's just a very difficult situation in Jacksonville right now because there were a lot of high expectations for this team. A lot of preseason rankings had them as, top 7, 8, 9 defense in the league, right? They had a retooled offense. Lawrence was coming back fresh, right? If something's going to happen, it's going to happen now on the break. If it's not, you finish out the season. If I'm looking at my checkbook, I think you just let Peterson ride through the remainder of the season and you spend this time evaluating who it is that you want coming up, pull it into the evaluation of what's happening. But can he go? Yeah, I mean, sure he can go. There's people fired all the time, but we've seen a lot of offensive coordinators, a lot of defensive coordinators fired this year. The head coach has sort of survived. Eberflus still survives in Chicago, right? How does he get by with that? Gentleman in Tennessee, like these guys are holding on. I think it's because these owners and these GMs have finally come to the recognition that making these big in-season splashes, even if it's completely obvious, doesn't necessarily put you in a position of advantage where you actually are handcuffing yourself because now you have a guy after the guy who's not the guy. Does that make sense? Like, unless you have a coordinator in the waiting who is going to jump right in and take over, take your time. Really choose who you want to have your guy going forward and someone who's going to be aligned with your beliefs, who's not going to be at odds with doing what you want to do. I mean, one of the good things that's happening with what's his face? The opposite of McCarthy there in Dallas is that that those owners, Jerry specifically, not to beat a dead horse with him, but they're not on the same page, right? They're just not. So you can get rid of them. Yeah, that's great. But who are you going to throw into the mix right there? They're going to hold out. They're going to wait for Dion if he's going to be available. Same thing in Las Vegas, right? They're going to hold out and wait for Sanders to come in. Should Jacksonville make the move? Yes. You should kick the tires, light the fires, change the oil, right? Like you should 100% do that to revitalize your team. Is it the most prudent move at this time? Probably not. You just roll out Mac Jones, you let Lawrence rest, you try to keep everybody healthy through the end of the season, and then you retool at that point. But shout out to Gas Pump Guy, kicking butt there on the picks as of late, and shout out to Rick as well. Rick has surpassed me as the first place individual in the picks there on SR 102.9 The Game. Check it out.
I didn't check this morning, but I know I have to put in just like Gaspam Guy. Both of us had to write down me 1 week during a hurricane, and then Gaspam Guy for some reason it kept kicking him out. So he's been recording his picks as well. So he's been keeping note of it. So at the very end, we'll make sure we have the true tallies with everyone towards the end of the season. But yeah, listen, that's why I put it up there. It's fun. I appreciate everyone who joins in. Even with Lady Levon, I mean, she throws her picks in there as well. So next year it'll grow a little bit bigger. Every year we'll just add a little more to it and end up growing. But the reason why I bring up WP, Third Gas Pump Guy, because you and I have felt with Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles went from being on the hot seat to seeming like he was going to have this team together to then being back on the hot seat to the point now I think it's almost time, Gas Pump Guy, to say goodbye to Todd Bowles because you've tried to find ways to win, but you found ways to lose as well. And then you also found a couple of ways for your receivers to go down when it was important. Although one may be coming back if he's healthy enough during a bye week here, and hopefully it'll resurrect kind of the season for the Bucs. What's working for the Bucs is thankfully the Falcons continue to lose. So the Bucs still have a chance to still win a division. So I'd like to get your thoughts here as a bye week captain for the Bucs, Gaspam Guy, on where do you still stand and feel about Todd Bowles?
I still think that the Bucs need to move on from Tom Bowles. I look, don't get me wrong, he's a good defensive coach, but that the responsibilities of being a head coach is kind of hindering him, is I guess the word you would want to say, on the defensive side, because he can't put as much attention to the defense as he would like. And I honestly, after this season, if the Bucks don't get rid of Todd Bowles, then I feel like next season is just going to be another same. We're going to do good, but not good enough. Granted, we had some receivers go down, and like you were pointing out there a few minutes ago, hopefully we can get Mike Evans back after this bye. I've heard some good things. We did go back out and get what's the guy's name? I can't remember his name right now, but another defensive guy for the corners, and it's so hard for me to see Todd Bowles doing anything that's going to propel us further into the playoff. Liam Cohn, I like him, but at the same time, he frustrates me because the last game that we played where we did 2 run plays and you didn't call in the best running back that we have, Bucky Irving. We needed some short yards to get a first down, and you send in Rashad White. I mean, he's a good back. Don't get me wrong, but I just think Bucky needs to be number one.
Mm-hmm.
And we're gonna do a run game. We needed to revolve around him and throw in Tucker there. I mean, Rashad, he's good, but I think when we had Bucky and Tucker, I think our offense, the running part of the game, was clicking really well and doing really, really well. And just to throw in, Baker is doing a phenomenal job of trying to keep this team afloat and trying to get us to games that we can win. And he's put us in very good positions. And I don't understand why a lot of the talking heads or the big national places, they talk about the MVP. I may be biased in this, but I think Baker has been doing really, really well and getting some really good stats going to at least have him in the conversation, but yet nobody wants to talk about that. And I don't understand why. Is it because he's in the NFC South and it's supposedly the crap division, which, you know, it is what it is. We are a crappy division. I get that. But at the same time, when you see somebody that's stiff-arming Nick Bosa and still making a throw and getting it to the guy, I mean, come on, what's better than that? I mean, you're not like that Josh Allen when he burrowed through and got the touchdown yesterday. That's what Baker Mayfield does every game he plays. He's out there, he's tough, he's running, he's doing what he needs to do to keep his team in position to win. And I just don't understand why nobody wants to acknowledge that.
I don't know either. I mean, you can bring up a good solid point either. Why isn't he in the MVP talk as well? And it could be, you know, I don't understand either. Kind of one of those things why here in Florida, like it seems like the entire state of Florida when it comes to sports, maybe except for Miami because they're winning. But it just seems like it's always like a bum type deal. And I guess I didn't hear as much when I was up in Philly, but man, being down here, it just seems like there's no love whatsoever for Florida teams. But no, it's all good points you bring up there, and Baker Mayfield should be in the talks, at least a candidate talk for MVP for what he's had to deal with, how he's been able to at least try to get this team to win. The schedule doesn't get any easier for the Bucks, but I mean, at this point, I don't want to hear from Todd Bowles that last year we heard this a lot. We practiced good, we had a good practice. Practice was fine. Practice. In the end, it comes down to what you do on the gridiron on Sundays in the trenches. And so I just hope with this bye week, hopefully some of the guys get a little bit healthier. We'll see maybe a good stretch run for the Bucks. It's going to be extremely tough to do, but I think it end up happening. And what I bring up too with both of you guys, and sorry, Duncan, Dad, if you want to add to that.
No, I was just going to say, do you liken now the Bucks to the Bengals in the NFC? Right, good quarterback, MVP caliber guy.
Right.
You have Evans compares with Chase, Higgins compares with Godwin when they're healthy. They both have a young running back, but yet neither of these teams seem to get over that hump where they run into that late game defensive sort of breakdown. Right, like last night, you have J.K. Dobbins basically bust off a 45-yard touchdown to seal the game, right? Like, are we mirroring one another? I'm just trying to draw a little bit of that comparison, just because I feel like the same sort of vibe is being held by both the fans in Cincinnati and in Tampa. Like, man, like, get us a break. Just give us a break. Give us a break. Give us a break. Because one or two plays, I know we always say the if game, but one or two plays either way, these teams are 7-3 easily. You know what I mean? And like a couple break, here and there. But yeah, you're right. It's a lot of time come and pass for individuals across the league to really look at their coaching staff across the board and say, all right, are we getting what we want out of these guys? So go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's a good point too, because the comparison I really think about to you, I just mentioned it between Joey Burrow and Baker Mayfield and Cincinnati. I'm really trying to figure out what is it that every single year, and I know the Eagles have as far as a slow start to the game, but Cincinnati now, it's what, third season in a row? You talk about a slow start to the season. I forget about the game, to the season. And then you got, Higgins. I wish that Mike, the audio would have came through. Unfortunately, I can't hear it. I would love to know what those guys have said, because they're upset, and I can't blame them. I mean, everyone expected bigger and better from the Bengals, and it just seems like every season we go back to the same conversation. So I really don't understand what's going on, but I guess they will get better. I'll question it with a question mark, an exclamation point behind it, because you don't understand it. The one thing I do want to bring up though, because as one of you two guys have mentioned prior in the past as well, and this was from, and by the way, Rick Marcus says hello to everyone. He's texting in. He is listening into the show. We do appreciate Rick, as with everyone else, to make sure that they get their noble mentions here as well. Penguin AZ says the Packers' last three have been breaks. Packers won't make the NFC Championship. I would agree. Penguin AZ. Joey B says, I'm not a Bengals fan whatsoever, but man, what a funk they're in. Plus the refs seem against them too. Yeah, Joey B, I would have to agree. Maybe not the playoffs for Green Bay Packers, as Penguin AZ comes back in and says something there about his Packers. A huge fan, and if anybody's got their beat on the pulse, is Penguin AZ. But yeah, he's right though. The Green Bay has been lucky to pull off their wins. But I want to mention here that we've all talked about Shador and Dion, right? Where are they going to go? Where will they land? Who thinks of what? This was back from November 14th, and I want to bring it back because obviously from the time last week that had to be off. But this is the guys on Get Up, and he mentioned about where they think the landing spots would end up being for both. I mean, I don't know, because again, there's some things that I don't agree upon, but apparently the press conference that Dion had over the weekend was probably one of the better ones. And from what Pete had said is that he finally took off the shades during a press conference. But here are the guys from Get Up mentioning of where they think these guys are going to land.
Every single team in the top 10.
Dude, you're talking quarterback. Schefter, you're talking the Jets.
Go through the list.
You're talking the Jets.
Could you see? Hold on. Could you see Shador and Dion with the Jets?
Heck yes.
I mean, I would, of course, I would love to see that.
Can you see him with the Giants?
Yeah, definitely.
The Las Vegas Raiders.
For sure.
Okay, the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, why not?
There's not going to be a top team that's going to say no to it.
Now, but here's the thing. There's going to be teams. So again, the Jets, the Giants, the Saints, the Raiders, the Jaguars, the Browns, the Carolina Panthers.
There's going to be teams
but there's going to be organizations out of that group that I said that Dion is going to say no.
That's fine. That's fine. The point is that this is just going to be an option that's out there. We're not saying it's happening.
Yeah.
We're saying that this is one of those options that's going to heat up, that's going to be in play this offseason. Is there a team out there that's in position to get Shador Sanders that also wants to go and hire Deion Sanders to marry them up together moving forward? Maybe it'll happen. Maybe it won't. It's damn fun to talk about and think about.
Yeah, I'm with you 100% on that.
Well, if you wanted to explode the internet, congratulations, you just did. Let's see what winds up happening there. Dion and Shador, start making your guesses now.
Yeah, that's what the fella said, right? Now, to me, it still has to come down to the way Dion handles himself. And I know Joey B, who listens to a lot of goes on out there in Colorado, rightfully so, because he lives out that way. But, I think before any NFL team comes to calling, first of all, you got to see the way Shedeur finish out the rest of the season. He is going to get drafted in the NFL, thankfully, because of Deion. But at the same time, too, if you're going to make this a 1-2 combination, and I know, Duncan Dad, you had mentioned prior to about Vegas because the money's coming in this, that, and the other. But in the end, it's still going to come down to what version of Deion are you going to get? I made an argument the last time all of us were on, and I believe over the weekend, I kind of won that argument because someone else had stated almost the same thing. The way I had mentioned was that you're going to get either the version of Deion that we used to see before and actually wants to be competitive, or if he keeps going on these tangents and starts saying, you can't talk to me that way, then no offense, I don't care how much money or how much notoriety or any of the stuff that brings in. If you're a team like the Raiders right now, that they thought Antonio Pierce was going to be the answer for them, and the Raiders are trying to figure out exactly who in the world they are, this is just going to be something that you're going to add more, I guess, fuel to the fire. The same way when in Dallas, everybody knows Mike McCarthy more than likely is going to be gone. Dak Prescott ended up getting a huge deal, which has turned out to be a bust, even though he's injured. So there's a lot that's going to unravel with a lot of that stuff. Joey B, by the way, says if Deion and Shedeur to Dallas, then Prescott to the Raiders, that could be interesting. If they're going to, take that big chunk that goes along with it. And then Joey B follows up with the rumors here in Boulder. If Colorado Buffs land in the Orlando Bowl, which is the Pop-Tart Bowl, Florida State and Jacksonville Jags are in line to talk with Deion's inner circles about those jobs. And I think it's going to be Florida State. That's just my well-versed opinion. But before I go to Duncan Dad's opinion, what say you there, Casper guy?
Go to Duncan Dad. I gotta mull over this a little bit.
Sure, Duncan Dad.
So, my opinion of Colorado is such. Let me take a breath and bring this in now. Everybody and their brothers all over social media saying that, oh my God, they're 8-2. Everybody, I don't hear all the haters now talking about Deion and blah, 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 blah. Let me just run something down for you because stats and whatever else never lie. All right. You beat Colorado State. Congratulations. You go to overtime versus Baylor and Hunter, not Shedeur, Travis Hunter bails you out, both offensively and defensively. You go to Central Florida and you wipe the floor with the Knights, which you have this much talent on your team, a potential 2 guys in the race for the Heisman. You should wipe up Central Florida. Then you play a team like Kansas State. Oh, wait a minute. Here's my first Big 12 conference competition. And guess what happens? You lose. 31-28, field goal game, but still take the loss. Then you go to Arizona, which Arizona is just a reeling mess right now. Great running back, Sorley. I mean, phenomenal running back. Right? He puts up numbers every single week, but they don't have it behind. I know the kid, real kid, little spark plug guy, decent quarterback, not the greatest in the world, not the toughest competition. You wax the floor with Arizona 34-7. Then you play Cincinnati, decent team, win by a touchdown. Then you go to Texas Tech and you blow up Texas Tech, which is fine. You play Utah, you beat Utah, and you have one more loss floating in there versus Nebraska at the beginning of the year. The things that people aren't paying attention to is that he hasn't played like a Penn State. He hasn't played in Indiana. He hasn't played a Georgia. He hasn't played Texas. He hasn't played Florida's even, right? Like this is not say lollipop schedule, but if it's a lollipop Big 12 schedule. There's reasons why Texas left the Big 12, right? There's a reason why Texas Tech was like, I'm out of here. We're going to the SEC. We want some competition. So this is all fine and well, and I respect what he's doing out there. And yes, kudos to the Colorado State people out there. But, good fight, good game. I'm happy that they beat them last year. But we're gauging this off of, in my opinion, a little Notre Dame lens. And I know Notre Dame people, oh, my God, we're 6th in the country now. We're ranked. Listen, it's because you're independent, right? That's because you're independent. When you play a real team, you're going to get waxed. Why? Because history has shown that when you play a real team, you get waxed. Shout out to TCU. Shout out to BYU. Shout out to St. Mary of the Cross. That's what happens when you teams play actual with legitimate teams who are lining up every single week versus not just one, not just two, not just three people who are going to play on Sunday, but like an entire line, right? An entire secondary they're going to play on Sunday. And Shador, talent. Yes, 100%. Hunter, way more talent, 100%. Dion is going to do his thing. People are going to want to bring him in, and they are going to go someplace as a package deal. That's the way it's going to happen. It's going to be, oh, it felt so nice. How did this happen? There's a reason why the Lakers moved up for the 55th pick and took Bronny James in the second round. Bronny James is playing in the G League, and people are all over him saying, oh, bring Bronny James back to the real team. Bring him back. Don't bring Bronny James back. You reached on him. He averaged 2.4 points at USC. This is the same deal, only in college football. We see this time and time and time again. Will Dion motivate people? Sure he will. But the minute that he butts heads, say with CeeDee Lamb, or he butts heads with Max Crosby, or he butts heads with, let's say, Brady if he winds up in Vegas, what's going to happen at that point? Because I know who's signing the paychecks. It ain't Dion. Right? It's not Dion. So I want everybody just to pump their brakes a little bit. It's all nice. And I'm on the same train as you, Angel. I respect what he did to Jacksonville State. I love what he did culture-wise at CU and making him relevant again. But there's a ceiling, right? Like Nick Saban tried to go to the NFL. Completely different when you're dealing with professionals. And all the camaraderie and all of the, I'm your boy, fist pumps, all that kind of stuff, that's all fine and well. But when it comes down to a paycheck for someone and you're not winning, that takes a big, big turn. And I know the NILs are there, whatever. But when you're the guy at the university with all the NIL deals, I guess you can write your own checks. This is completely different when you go to big boy land. I don't wish him any bad luck. I just don't see how that translates to NFL thing. And there's plenty of places, but let's be honest. He's not going to the Jets. He's not going to the Giants. He's going to go someplace either in a dome or someplace warm. That's the only place that he's going to go. Otherwise, he'll just stay put. Or he'll wait and see where Shore is going to land, and then he'll try to follow him. Because he will go. He's going to be one of these guys who's going to go in the top 5, 6 picks just because he's Shedeur Sanders. People overvalue these guys way, way, way too much. It's I don't know. It's not that it's a bad taste in my mouth, but it just shows that we overvalue a lot of these college kids because on the potential of what they've shown against mid to mediocre competition, right? I mean, people aren't going to draft, what's his face from Georgia, the quarterback, Beck. Beck is good, but Beck's like back-to-back national championships, like first person to he's not going to be a first-round quarterback taken in the NFL. He's a product of everything around him. And if you're the first guy and you're the end-all, begin-all, like the Falcons moved up to draft Michael Penix or Penix, whatever his name is. He's not playing. He got thrown in the game because Denver just destroyed him in the second half. Yep. So he took Kirk out, put him in. If they really believed in him, they would have rolled him out because he was the next greatest thing since sliced bread. Left-handed, mobile quarterback, big arm, throws on a dime. But hello, welcome to the NFL. Completely, completely different. So, all of the good well wishes to Colorado, to Dion, to Shedeur, to Hunter. I want to see him succeed. I think it's good for the game.
Right.
But sometimes you can't take apples and put them in an orange basket.
Yep. Nope.
You just can't do it.
Valid points as we're getting ready to close out the show here. But Mickey, it's been a while. Mickey, I hope you're feeling much better. He says morning to everyone. Miss Mickey also being part of the commentary here. So good to see you, Mickey. And before I get it from Gaston Guy, Joey B, good points here where he says Juju Lewis committed from USC coming to Boulder. Wonder if Prime stays for 4 to 5 years and just stays put. It would have to be a little more enticing probably, but that's a good point. And then he follows up with, give it about 6 weeks for all this to play out with Prime and Shedeur. Going to be a media frenzy after bowl game they play in, which is going to be absolute truth. So, Gaston Guy, I don't know if you got your thoughts together on this one.
I mean, honestly, I think Dion is a good coach, and like Dunk, I was about to call him Gas Pump Guy. Like Duncan Dad said, he's good at getting people motivated and stuff like that. But also, like Duncan Dad said, once you start messing with people's paychecks and you're not the main big boss that has the last say on you're going to play or you're not going to play. You know, once you start butting heads with people that are actually making big money, that's when the problems start to arise. And if you got problems in your locker room with your head coach, then the team's going to suffer whether they want it to or not. That's just the way it is. Attitude reflects leadership. If his attitude is crappy to one player, what's that going to say to the other players? Is, oh, if I'm not performing well, now Coach Dion's going to be yelling at me and bumping heads with me, and maybe I don't want to be here no more, and they want to get traded to a different team. You know, that he needs to go to a team. I feel that he wants to go to a team that he's going to be able to have a lot of the say, you know, kind of like Belichick when he was at the Patriots. You know, Belichick had the coach and GM type situation, and I think that that's what Dion wants, but I don't think that's what he's going to get, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No. Good point. Very good point. Who knows if they end up down here at the Pop-Tart Bowl, which apparently, I guess now, this was from Nicole Auerbach earlier. She said, breaking the Pop-Tarts Bowl will have 3 mascots this year. Frosted Hot Fudge Sundae, Frosted Wild Berry, and Mystery Flavor that's coming back from the vault. Only one mascot will achieve the ultimate pastry dream of being eaten by the winning team. Game MVP picks flavor. So that makes it interesting. I thought it was pretty fun the way they did it last year, which it'll be back here once again at Camping World Stadium. So that should make it fun, I guess, for a lot of folks that like Pop-Tarts. By the way, once again, happy birthday to Coach Jose Fernandez from the women's USF basketball team. Do appreciate that as well. And I really quick, as we're coming up now at the end of the show, looking back at some of these games here, again, we heard from and Mickey, by the way, I'm glad you're feeling a lot better. From Penguin AZ, as he mentioned that obviously Chicago and Joey B for that matter, saying about my wife over there in Studio B, Bears, you got to think, and guess I'm going to go to you first. Bears fans have got to be beyond pissed off.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, they thought that the season was going to go one way, and Eberflus is just not that coach. He's not that guy. He needs to find a different place to go or back to coordinator or whatever he does best. But head coaching is not his forte.
Nope. You got to figure this week too. All of us went 5-0 our picks because we didn't have a weekly pick on Friday, so everybody went undefeated for the week. And we'll end up bringing it back, but also New Orleans, and I'll leave this with you there, Duncan. Now, New Orleans find another way for their interim head coach now to go 2-0 for his start. And listen, again, you can catch lightning in a bottle, but is this one of those things? And I'll the last thing I'll end up with is the whole Tyson fight here. But with New Orleans, is it one of those things you're just kind of catching a little bit of a spark? And are fans all in and saying, maybe this should be our next head coach?
Yeah, no, I think it's just a matter of, you're playing the Browns at home. You're telling your quarterback just to go out there and let it fly. You don't have Taysom Hill, right? No, he's an athlete and everything, but you break off a 75-yard touchdown run, you're Taysom Hill, versus the Browns, supposed to be the vaunted Browns defense. That really shouldn't happen. He scored 3 touchdowns on the day, Hill. He had 1 rush and 1 passing. He had 1 catch. I think he did the trifecta yesterday. But, that's the opposite side of the coin we were talking about Jacksonville earlier, right? Do you remove the coach, bring in someone new? Because you always get that little juice for like 2-3 games, right? You pull off the back-to-back wins, you split 2 out of 3. Is it the move? Is he the answer? I think the Saints have bigger and better plans and expectations, but it could be an Antonio Pierce situation, right? It could be a Gerard Mayo situation. It could be tons of guys around the league, right? You come in, you're the fill for the guy. It's like, what do we got to lose? He knows the system. We'll give him a year. We'll reevaluate, see where our draft stock falls. I think it's nice. But they've got some games coming up in the division that are really going to, set the tone as they finish the year. They finish up the Bucs. That could be a big game versus the Bucs, right? They got a game versus the Packers where that could be playoff implications as well. Game versus the Commanders, playoff implications as well. So they could play spoiler, right, if anything.
That they could. They definitely could. I think we lost Gaston Guy, no worries there if we end up losing him. All right, last thing I want to end up with here, because we've gone into a little bit of a bonus time, is the Tyson fight, which, listen, they made their money. They both got paid no matter what. On one of the, I saw on Twitter that someone had put that when Tyson landed a punch which could have taken out Jake Paul, it was almost like, oh, wait a minute, I got to go the distance on this one so we can get paid. It's, I mean, I understand the graphics they put up there. Some people like Rosie Perez. Some people didn't like Rosie Perez. Some people didn't like the announcer. I mean, I don't know. What was the end all to be all when it came down to who they want to have on the broadcast team? You had Cedric the Entertainer early on. He came on to talk for a little bit. I mean, it's the first time for Netflix to put this together. Are you going to knock it out the park the very first time? Probably not. We've seen every single network, when they go to do something for the first time, it's a give and take. It's a learning process. The biggest takeaway was that Netflix should have done a better job to make sure they had enough servers and enough room for everyone to be able to watch, because those memes that are going out there are beyond funny. I don't care if you're looking at Facebook, Instagram, wherever the case may be, but this is probably where a lot of people said not as much as a scam, but more of a sham, because it's just, I don't know. I think, to me, did Mike hold back? I have no idea where it looked like it, but I don't know. What say you, Duncan Dad? I was not thoroughly impressed.
Well, fight takeaways. Bigger, faster, stronger, younger definitely has its advantages, regardless of who you are, where you're at in your stage of life. The stamina, the endurance of a much younger Paul definitely paid off. Do I think Tyson was a little reserved in some of his strikes? Yeah, I think so. I think he knew it was more of an exhibition bout than anything. He knew that everyone was going to get paid and put on a good show. There were plenty of opportunities in the fight from a boxing standpoint, and I'm sure Q has way more insight than I do, but he could have taken a few more open jabs and open overhand rights that he definitely pulled back on. I mean, like, he's a professional fighter, right? There's going to be moments where he'll give it a little flurry, but could he have gone more in? I'm sure he could have, and I'm not going to sit here and judge anyone's conscience and judge what anyone has decided to do for these things, but if you really want to make any credence out of this for both sides, Tyson gets to walk away, take Paul, and actually have him line up against an actual professional boxer now, right? Like, I want to see you versus a professional boxer, who's a peer in the same age group, same sort of build, et cetera, et cetera. As for Netflix, great litmus test for their NFL games coming up on Christmas, which happen to be, and if you believe in script and stuff like that, you've got the Ravens versus the Texans, which is going to be huge, and you also have the Steelers versus the Chiefs, which is going to be a huge game. Like you, I thought to myself, my God, why did they not designate specific servers for live view? With that being said, my prediction, my bold prediction, surely go wrong, is that next year in January, when we roll on over after this cycle of NFL games ends, you will have an option to go to a live stream component of Netflix. What I think what was happening was that you had so many people in their queue trying to access live events, simultaneously trying to pull from their stored download streaming section, that the system was confused. We're like, where do I send you? Where do I go? Who's asking this? Who's asking what? Because remember, people have shared accounts. And I'm sure mom and dad might be watching the fight, or dad's watching the fight. Everybody over here wants to watch, My Little Ponies or something like that, right? Like, that's where the system, I think, was like, oh my God, we're overloading, we're crashed. So guarantee that they will rapidly replicate their system and designate. And by the time you go log in on Christmas, listen, mark this down right now. You're going to have an option when you get to Netflix. It's going to say live streaming events. And you're going to be able to click on that. And what's going to do is it's going to separate you to this section of Netflix. And before you come back to the main section, you're going to have to restart yourself to the main menu again. It's not going to be the seamless, like I'm out and I get my menu and I pick what I want to do. If not, it'll crash and die again, because now you're getting 2 games with the NFL. No offense to Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, but you're talking probably about over Christmas, a couple 100 million, if not billion in viewership. Like, that's going to be a lot for them to handle. So it's going to split. It's going to designate. You're going to see $1.99, $2.99 upcharge in your bill next year for Netflix to have the available live stream component of it. And it's just good for business because it's not going to go away.
No, it's not.
Everything's on the streams. Amazon got a stream, Paramount got a stream, Peacock, ESPN. I mean, aside from the local markets that can't get blacked out, all the stuff's going to be streaming again. And if you only have one place to do all that together, cable, maybe? Cable? Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, it's the same way. I heard it also, and supposed that Antonio Brown apparently was doing a feed out there for 90,000 folks, and so.
Oh yeah, he got fined.
Yeah, which is it's just dumb. How do you think they're not going to find out? Come on, they've gotten better. This isn't what was our what was the original guy when it comes to audio to download, Napster, whatever it was.
Oh yes, Napster.
Yeah,
it was Napster. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're not gonna get one of those, not in this day and age, because they find out real quick what you're doing either legally and or illegally. So that was just on, especially when it comes to Netflix, because they have long arms, and I'm pretty sure they were gonna find out. Just like if people were gonna try and do it illegally, they were gonna find out, and I'm quite sure they were getting terminated. But oh well, AB just continues to do dumb things. That's not the way it should be. All right. With that being said, we are going to end the show right there. Thank you, Duncan Dad, for joining me. Of course, Gasp Guy on the line for all the comments from Penguin AZ. Rick, as he texts in. Joey B, as always, out there from Colorado. Hopefully, it's not too cold, but I did see a lot of blue. Except for down here, the only blue I see is the blue skies, which is absolutely fantastic. And there is an announcement coming up here soon, too, with Duncan Dad. I'm not going to reveal it as of just yet, other than the $1.1 trillion that he took away from the government and pumped it into Coastal Sports Network. The check, he said, is good for 2057. So it'll be fine. I'll just wait for it. I'll wait for them.
Just backdate it. It's all right.
Exactly. Joey B says, have a great day, fellas. Thanks for the content. You are welcome, Joey B. Thank you to everyone who tuned in, especially we always cannot do this without you guys as well out there in Radio Land, of course, on the digital side of the house. Don't forget, you can always visit sr1029thegame.com and download the app. As I said, there's been a couple of things that shuffled around on the website. Check it out. And then also with USF, there'll be a brand new section that'll be coming up here throughout the week. So I was always ask everyone, just go back, check it out, and see what it's like. Just like Duncan Dad, who downloaded the app, so when he hits the road, he can go back and hear other things. So there'll be a couple of announcements coming up this week. Don't forget Vanya from TLC 90 Day Fiancé Before the 90 Days. She will be on Wednesday, along with Coach Hevia from the West Chapel Kings. This will be one of two announcements coming up this week. So we thank you all for tuning in. We do appreciate it. Always leave your comments here on the socials. And then after the show's over, you can always reach out to us through the website. There's a leave us a comment content section out there on the homepage where you can do so. But we thank you all for tuning in. We will talk to you once again on Wednesday. Don't forget, later on this afternoon, The Drive with Q from 5 to 6, Bee's World from 6 to 7, and then closing out the night will be Lloyd Vance's Insider Football with Kevin Midget. Penguin AZ, appreciate you as well. Great show as always. Thank you so much. We will talk to you all come in the morning in the AM when Pete Shepard gets the show off going, or the morning show going with the Pete Shepard Show. So thank you all. Have a great night. We'll see you soon.